feel like it's pretty long.
Yeah, dude. But I feel
Hello and welcome to the Productive Habits Podcast, where we talk about our journey of going from non-productive wastemen to aspiring productivity gurus. As always, we're your co-hosts, Dennis and Jamie, and in today's episode, we'll be talking about our 2020 year in review, our pitfalls, our successes, and what we expect from 2021. But first off, how have you been, Jamie?
I've been doing just great. The year is about to end, and I'm excited for the new year. A lot has been accomplished, and I'm excited to talk about that today in today's podcast. New Year's, and I'm celebrating it by doing this podcast. How about yourself, Dennis?
I know, what a great way to celebrate the new year.
Yeah.
Right? Than doing a productivity podcast.
I know, right? Isolated virtually.
Yeah, for sure.
In our own rooms.
Yeah, of course. You know,
So-
barely holding on to that human interaction. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, man. How was your 2020?
2020, if I were to give it a nice score, a 7 out of 10, I had a lot of ambitions, things I planned for, but kind of got derailed.
Mhm.
But honestly, I had fun with it. And I think given any circumstance, anything that bad happens, you just got to make the best out of it. And that's what I did. I learned a lot of things. I
Mhm.
enrolled in a few online courses. The best thing I think is working from home, because not only do I get to wake up late, not commute and all that, which is the best, I think. I got a chance to set up my home gym
Mhm.
and do a bunch of things that hopefully I could talk about. But other than that, this year has been a blessing. I guess the best way to describe it is a blessing in disguise. I'm
Right.
just fortunate enough to be, I wasn't directly affected by the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to be grateful in that regard. Yeah,
Well,
so
you
that's
know-
my 2020.
Yeah, you know, it's actually funny because that's a stance I hear a lot now, where a lot of people are taking the more appreciative approach to life, which I really like, because you know, you're right. There's like two ways to look at this. You can be like, oh, 2020, you know, this year sucked. I hated it. And honestly, 2020 for me personally, it wasn't a great year. It started off really amazingly, but as the year progressed, it became worse and worse as the pandemic kind of hit into full stride. But one of the things you're talking about is kind of like looking at it from that different point of view. And I you know, I'm kind of the same way. I don't like to look at things from like, you know, oh man, this was awful. Instead, kind of reframe it to be like, you know, this is awful, but I kind of learned a lot.
Yeah, I think that's the stance most people have to take, because in reality, it sucks, right? When you actually look at your situation, it
Objectively,
sucks.
yeah, for sure.
Objectively, it does suck.
Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, what can you learn out of it? Anything particularly that stood out for you in 2020?
Well, I mean, so just to kind of get the ball rolling, and like, so in 2020, I had quite a few goals that I wanted to accomplish, right? Right off the bat, I wanted to perform exceedingly well academically. I wanted to hit a 4.0. I wanted to gain somewhat fluency in French, and I wanted to travel, right? The last one, bar none, obviously couldn't get done because of the pandemic, but the first two, especially in like the first half of the year before the pandemic hit, like up until March, I think I was really in stride, and you know, everything I wanted to accomplish was looking like it was going to be accomplished. You know, I was fortunate that academically I stayed very consistent in what I wanted. Not quite the 4.0 I wanted, but you know, just under that. But after, you know, just as the year progressed, I found things to be a lot harder to kind of you know, really anchor in. Like if I said I wanted to do something, I would feel myself kind of like being a bit lethargic in the way that I went about doing it. I don't know. Do you kind of understand what, like, do you kind of feel the same?
Yeah, I kind of share the same parallels and sentiment regarding that. But yeah, how was your, if you don't mind me asking, what's your year-end GPA?
Yeah, not at all. So for the winter semester, which I think was the most affected by the COVID, because so the way it happened was, so from like January to March, it was a regular winter semester, and then all of a sudden we were like violently transitioned into an online course, right?
Mm.
So we had like about a week of transition time, and then after that it was a completely different thing, right? So all the things you had spent time preparing for, like your final exams, your projects, your essays and stuff, suddenly they kind of had to be redistributed, and the weighting to those was changed. So I'll give you an example. So I had a biomaterials class, right? And I had a paper that was worth about 10%. And then I had a final that was worth 40, right? So naturally, you know, the final is the thing that you're kind of like looking to really prepare yourself for. But because of the pandemic and the transition that we had during the school year, we actually had our final canceled, and the paper ended up being worth 60%.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a,
So it's like it's it's not really like when you look at it from like an outsider's perspective, it's not like it's that alarming, but being in it, you're like, wow, I had this paper, and now suddenly it's worth everything, and I kind of have to put all my resource into this, whereas before you kind of take it as what it is, which is like a nice little thing to boost up your grade,
yes,
right? But but yeah, man, it was definitely a challenge going through it, honestly.
it does sound like that because it's all the mental preparation that you're expecting the exam and you're expecting that this paper is going to be a booster, but then 180,
Yeah,
right, switched to
exactly. And I know a lot of my classmates too kind of felt the burn in that, because when you have expectations for like 4 months, right, 3 4 months, and then suddenly it switches up on you, it's kind of like, this isn't like what just happened. It's not fair.
yeah, it was really weird. It was like almost instantaneous that 180 switch. Like I could come like from I'm on the other end here where I am an instructor at a college. So I also kind of experienced this where it went from in person straight to working from home online. And so it kind of derailed a lot of goals I had
Mhm.
in a sense, because now I had to spend more time preparing for class, transitioning the material from in person to an online environment, which is not one to one. You can't just
Well,
take
yeah, I
that
was I was
material.
gonna ask you how that went for you, because like how was that transition on your end?
Oh, the transition I thought would be pretty bad,
Hmm.
but I took it pretty well. I was pretty, how should I explain it? I was using a lot of online technology in person. And so it kind of translated well online. So I was using, have you heard of Kahoot?
Yeah, yeah, it's the fun
Yeah.
little game that you use to get like
So
participation.
yeah, so I've been using those type of like interactive software to keep my students engaged in person,
Hmm.
and it translated really well online. So the transition wasn't too bad, but there was other things I had to work on, and I had so many things, goals I had for myself in for 2020. I wanted to work in university,
Hmm.
or transition to working in a university setting, part-time basis,
Hmm.
and work in a corporate setting, and all these other things you mentioned. Being fluent in French, I really wanted to be fluent or
For sure.
conversationally fluent,
Yeah.
and uh, just overall, I wanted to just improve on myself. But because of that 180 switch, a huge change,
Hmm.
it's not an excuse, but it slowed things down. And from my point of view, so I didn't really achieve what I wanted, but I'm still on that track there.
Right. And okay, so
So
you
that
kind
was
of
my 2020.
yeah, you kind of bring up an interesting like point of view here, because like for the most part, it kind of seems like things were slightly altered, but for the most part, kind of normal on your end.
Yeah, that's what I'm really grateful for. Still have my job. The only big change I think was the gym, not going
Right.
in person. And so I had to set up my own home gym. But that was great. And I'm really grateful for that because not everyone could set up a home gym in the garage. And I took advantage of that. So I think that was another big change. Other than that, I'm still working, still living at home.
Hmm.
I have food to eat. So I'm really happy in that regard. So
Yeah, for
that's my,
sure. 100%. Um, yeah, that's honestly a great way to look at it. I know not everyone was as fortunate as us to be in a relatively stable condition, for the most part, like
Yeah,
in terms of
even
our,
you were working too, right? I think
yeah,
over the summer you were still are or a research assistant.
yeah, exactly. I was still fortunate enough to be working during the pandemic. But you know, something that I really kind of wanted to get into, and you kind of touched upon this a little bit. But so you were a certain way from January to March, right? Pre-COVID,
Yeah.
you were a certain way, and then afterwards, March onward, did that kind of were you slight like how did you how did you really kind of work in the things you wanted to do? Like, how was your mindset after?
Well, there was a lot of more self-reflection and
Hmm.
just being in my own head because now I have more time just at home doing a lot more time available to myself and to think. And so what I guess pre Jamie, pre COVID would be, get things done fast, try to do
Yeah.
things very quickly. And that makes sense because when you're working in person or you're going to the office or school or whatever,
Hmm.
life is pretty fast paced, especially for Torontonians. I'm pretty sure you could
Oh, a
say
thousand
that for
percent,
yourself,
thousand
right?
percent. Yeah.
Coming from where you live, shops and Don Mills to downtown Toronto, you're taking
Hmm.
multiple buses, subways,
Yeah.
interacting with various people. Same thing when you work too.
Yeah. Even
So
like indirectly interacting with various people. You don't even
yeah,
notice them, you know, but they're
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Even if you say hi, it's like a 1 or 2 minute conversation. Like, how are you? How's school? Blah, how's work?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then you're
Yeah.
off. So everything is fast paced. Get your work done really quickly,
Hmm.
and then because of COVID, everything slowed down, and I had more time to be present and focused. And I think that's the big difference between pre Jamie and post Jamie is I'm more slow, deliberate with what I do,
Hmm.
and more focused. I think that's the biggest difference on my end. I'm not too sure if other people had that change. Did you have a change?
Well, no, I kind of want to piggyback off what you're saying. So like when you say you're more deliberate, what exactly do you mean by that?
In line with being more present and focused with my task, but every action has to make sense, right? And I'm not perfect. So what I mean by that is if I catch myself playing video games, is
Yeah.
there, and I'm not going to front, there's some times where I play this really childish game called Shell Shockers online,
Hey,
and
hey,
it's
man,
it's so
it's legit, bro. Shell
it's
shockers,
legit, it's
it's
so
legit.
fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun, and it's all like 12, 13 year olds. So what am I doing playing with these people? Anyways, that's a different story. Um, does this have a purpose? And if yes or no, if it's no, then I'm not deliberate with my actions, my intentions. So I
Hmm.
guess if that makes sense, that's what I'm trying to convey there.
Oh, okay. So like it kind of sounds like you're more thoughtful in what you do. Like you have more
Yeah,
intent in your
yeah, more.
actions.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. More
Okay.
intent with my actions. So that's where I'm at. Instead of just aimlessly doing things, I'm
Hmm.
more intentful. So if I'm even when I'm working, so if I'm working, before it was just right or wrong, right or wrong, but now I'm just being more focused, deliberate. Why did they get that wrong? Can
Right.
I address that? Can I add some comments so that they understand why they got it wrong? So stuff
Hmm.
like that, right? Just being more intentful
Yeah,
is where
for
I'm trying
sure,
to
for
get at.
sure. Um, it's funny you say that because like I actually had the complete opposite experience
Oh
for a little
yeah.
bit of a year. Yeah. So after school was done, I had, you know, about a month and a half of free time before I went to study for my MCAT. And in that month
Mm.
and a half, because like there was no structure and I couldn't go outside and like everything was kind of locked down, I found myself in like a really weird malaise where I was just kind of like existing. It was very,
Ah.
yeah, it was really weird and I didn't really know how to deal with it. So what I noticed is that all of the productive habits that I kind of built up, you know, for like a year or two, kind of like I slowly noticed that they were kind of deteriorating. So like I was waking up later, I was sleeping a lot later. I wasn't really abiding by all the things that I kind of set myself up for. And I realized that, you know, this was a big shock and I slowly had to work my way out of it. But like for like a period of 1.5 to 2 months, I was just really in like a weird kind of haze where I wasn't really sure of what I was doing.
Yeah, that's what I don't want. But I think it's also necessary to have that haze. Although I don't know if 2 months is too much
It was definitely a long time. Definitely way longer
because
than it needed to be.
yeah, and I mean that's I don't know how much percent of the year, but just the parallel with like working out and running. If you're trying to compete or do something really crazy or get a personal record,
Hmm.
you always have a period of downtime, right? Just to let your body relax
The
or
rest period, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
rest period. It's called a deload. So I'm pretty sure what you're doing is a mental deload. But although a physical deload for working out doesn't take like months, it takes usually a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't
Um,
know if it was intentional or not.
oh, I thought it seemed intentional because going from like super crazy school work schedule to just doing this haze, I thought it seemed pretty intentional.
No,
I
but
don't know if it was 2 months intentional
I
though.
don't know if it was intentional because I realized something about myself this year as well. Is that I'm a very extreme type of person. So
You could tell.
when I yeah, exactly. So when I'm kind of into something, I'm like all the way in.
Yeah,
And that's basically what I was like for the winter semester. I was taking an overloaded 9 courses. Normally, max you take is 7, most people take 5. And this was more of like a
yeah,
personal challenge to see if I could do it or not. And I did.
yeah,
But in doing that, I kind of like really pushed myself to the extremes, I guess. And I guess without realizing it, this pandemic kind of like it really opened,
counterbalance.
yeah, it really opened up a way for me to kind of reset.
Yeah, I think it was just a counterbalance, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're on one extreme and then now you're on the other extreme.
yeah. And the more
So
I'm
I think
talking
that
about, the
was
more I
pretty
kind of
cool.
realize that. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty
but
cool actually.
it is, but like honestly, going from one extreme to the other and then building yourself back up, it took a lot of work, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. But this is like this whole endeavor of being super extreme with your work and school. It's
Hmm.
only been happening what the past 4 years, 4 or 5 years
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
around that. So that's not relatively a long period of time, right? So I think the more you do this, working on extremes, the more you'll get used to it.
Well, also, I think it depends on the person too, because I feel like burnout is a very
Yeah.
real thing, and I think to some extent I was starting to experience that, and I don't think the pandemic helped either, because I think during school it was just this, this weight, right? We didn't know what was going on. The world was shutting
Oh,
down,
yeah, yeah.
and like here I am, really not not saying it's like the most important thing in the world, but also trying to keep up like a good academic standing and within the goal that I wanted was pretty difficult, I'd say.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're almost in like a academic purgatory, right?
Yeah.
Where you had no concrete like thing to work on.
Hmm.
So when there's nothing concrete, it's hard to make actions and plan and all that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that makes sense. That was I think it was 2 or 3 weeks you were in because I from my school it was like 2 weeks of I think just nothingness of just no classes and just transitioning.
Yeah, so we had about a week of transition, and then from then on everything was virtual, and
Yeah, yeah.
everyone was scrambling. Like I can't, like as an educator, I can only sympathize with how you and like your peers had to deal with it, because I can't imagine it must have been easy.
Well, I took it personally. I thought it was a pretty smooth because I was, again, technology does help.
Yeah,
But for the older ones, the older heads,
the
like
old
50
heads.
to 60 years old, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So yeah, hats off to them.
Yeah, I had people sending me recorded PowerPoints.
Holy,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Damn.
And honestly, those were some of the better ones, because then I also had
Really?
some profs who wouldn't do anything.
Like, what do you mean not do anything? What,
So they would post the static lecture slides and that's it.
bruh, are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah. I'm dead serious, bro. It was insane.
Yo,
It
you're
was
paying
madness.
so much money and they're just doing that?
I
Oh
know.
my
There was
God.
there was like there was even a petition going around to um like get our tuition back because this isn't what we paid for.
You know what's crazy? When you work in these institutions, when you're tenured, like you can get away with this, but
Yeah.
if this was a corporate setting, you would easily be replaced with a better teacher.
If this was any other job,
Yeah, right.
you couldn't
Easily
do this.
replaced, and the clients, or in this case the students, wouldn't suffer as much.
Yeah.
So I thought that's a pretty cool thing to look at.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean that, our gripes with the education system is like
Yeah,
it's an entirely different thing.
I
We can
think it's
spend like
yeah. I want
two
to
hours
talk
on that
about that
topic
one
alone.
day,
Yeah, we
for
definitely will.
sure, for sure. I want to talk about that. But yeah, the 2020 awesome year or lack thereof, awesome. But
Hey, I mean,
anything
honestly,
else?
you gave it a 7 out of 10. I
Yeah.
think
What
that's
was your? What's yours?
so the first half of the year, the first quarter, 10 out of 10, easy.
No
Everything I wanted to do,
way.
I was doing, and it was
That
easy.
makes sense,
It
actually.
was
Yeah,
easy. Like when I said I wanted to, do something, perform well in this specific class or this specific course or this
yeah.
specific assignment, I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and I did, and it was amazing. And then after that, I'd say I give the rest of the year maybe like a 5 out of 10,
No way. So on average, that would be
maybe like a 6.
6.
Yeah, maybe like a 6 out of 10.
Does that work out as an average?
Well,
I
no,
guess
because
you
like,
waited the other half of the year more.
yeah, exactly, three
Yeah,
quarters.
yeah,
I mean, we can do the math, but
yeah.
you know, um, yeah, I think probably a 5 to a 6 out of 10. I think
Man.
I realized without interaction, without friends, without social connection, that it became being stuck in the house really is what did it for me. I know you kind of feel the same, but you're in a very fortunate area where you have a lot of stuff going on around you.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm a bit more isolated in that, but
Yep.
I think being stuck inside while being expected to do the same thing you were doing before,
It takes a toll.
it takes a toll. And I think that's why for me it's about a 5 to a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like your area also plays a huge part. Like shops and dominoes, sure, it's the same stores, but
Yeah.
other outside of that,
Mm.
when it comes to walking or biking, it's not very accessible, right? I'm so
Well,
close to
actually,
them.
no, the bike paths are incredible. I spent
Oh
the
yeah,
entire summer just biking around and it was fantastic. But,
yeah, but it's
you know,
still, yeah. I
like
guess to
when the
other
weather,
attractions, it's not.
yeah, like when the weather gets bad or it starts raining or starts snowing or winter like it is now, you're
Yeah,
kind of isolated in this pocket of Toronto that you can't really go anywhere with.
yeah, and yeah, you kind of there's a lot of roads, so it kind of
Yeah.
seems like you're in like an island, right? You
Yeah.
got Dom Mills like super busy, then you
Yeah.
got York. Is it Lawrence or York Mills?
It's Lawrence, and then
Lawrence.
York Mills is further north.
Essentially, you're between Eglinton and like
Lawrence, yeah.
Lawrence, and
Yeah.
those are really busy like roads. Even Dom
1000%.
Mills is hella busy, so it's almost like you're surrounded by just roads.
1000%.
Whereas I'm actually like so close to downtown Toronto, so I see a lot of people just walk there and walk back.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the things I want to talk about is that you kind of really took initiative this summer and kind of really built upon this whole fitness program that you had going on. If you want to talk more about that.
Well, I don't think I built upon it. It's something that we collect. So myself, yourself, Ryan, and Donna started in 2018.
Hmm.
Just a little like outdoor activity we can do together.
And what's the
And then
name
I
of
kind of
this
took off 20.
amazing?
Oh, it's called a body improvement club.
Yes, there it
And you
is.
know what's funny? I was thinking the other night, what should we call each individual member? I don't want to call them athletes. What do you think of mob leads based
Mob
off the
leads.
character mob?
Yeah, so
Mob
a
leads.
fun fact, the entire concept of the Body Improvement Club is derived from this show, this
What's it
anime
called?
called Mob Psycho 100. And
That's what it's
basically in
called.
the show, not to spoil anything too much, but it's this very wimpy guy, and he joins this very intimidating looking bodybuilding club. And what we loved about it is that it looked very harsh and aggressive and aggro, but everyone is so supportive and nice, and like they really want Mob to do his best. And that's when we thought, like, you know what, wouldn't it be nice if there was a club like this in for real in Toronto that we can kind of interact with and kind of push, everyone we know and the people that join in the most positive and like heartfelt way possible.
Yeah, and that's what we were initially last year in 2018, just that
Yeah.
environment. And it really took off in 2019 because of COVID and gyms not really being that safe,
Hmm.
especially in Toronto. So a lot
Yeah.
of people look for other avenues to get fit. And so Body Improvement Club was it because we had our sessions outside in an open park,
Hmm.
a lot of amenities like a big hill,
Oh man,
outdoor
that
gym,
was
huge
insane.
space.
Yeah.
And so we have this environment where everyone is very supportive, non-judgmental, very
Hmm.
fun, and very sociable too. We talk, we laugh. At the same time, we get our workout in. So it's kind of like killing two stones with one bird. What?
No, yeah, you no, you said it right. Two stones with one bird. Yeah, for sure.
Two stones with one bird. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So you're socializing and in a safe environment, relatively safe, and working out in a relatively safe environment. It took off, and I'm super happy that we kind of did this. And I'm looking to doing it again next year, 2021. Hopefully things ease down. So if you want to join, hit us up. Follow our Instagram at Body Improvement Club TO.
Definitely. But just to backtrack a bit, so this, what was kind of the thought process of like really turning it into what it is now?
Well, it was unintentional. I didn't like I don't think any of us could have saw where it was going to be, like how big it became.
Hmm.
It I guess its grassroots were just, let's work out, let's socialize, let's get together, right? And from there it just took off. Word of mouth was a big thing, right?
Hmm.
Brian's friends, I got some of my friends, then Brian got some of his friends, and then it just kept stemming out from
And
there. And
this began around May, June, if I remember
yeah, May,
correctly.
June, it started off with like us,
Hmm.
4 people. Then it became our closer friends, which was around 8 people. Then
Hmm.
eventually just branched out to like 15 to 20 people per session, which was insane.
Hmm.
And then bam, lockdown. And so we had to stop.
But for a
So
summer, it was
that's
like
pretty much it.
it was a really good way to kind of like, safely socialize while also getting a good workout in.
Yeah, I think that was one of the major selling point, or the point why it became so successful. And I think it's the environment,
Hmm.
very supportive. I don't think any of us really, we care for each other in a sense, but we don't really care about who you are and how you
Yeah,
look
I
like and
mean,
all that.
for sure.
So
We had a couple international people as well. Someone from Australia,
yeah,
really
that
kind
was
of
intense.
really kind of like demonstrated his desire to be there, and it was really great to see him all the time.
Yeah, and I think what was really cool, people from different backgrounds and
Hmm.
like careers, right? We had nurses, engineers, accountants, teachers, and everything. So it was really cool, and I think it kind of just shows you the beauty of Toronto and
Yeah,
just
for
and what
sure.
we have. So super proud of that. Body Improvement Club. That
Yeah, for
is.
sure. Check it out, guys, if you haven't already. But to kind of like, continue on with this, positive wave of 2020, what would you say are some of your successes this year? What can you point
Ooh,
to and be like, this was, yeah, I did that.
well, I think the biggest. I'm going to break it down into, I think, two main ones
Okay.
or three main ones: career, personal development,
Yeah.
and I guess fitness. So career wise, I'm not really where I'm at right now, but in
Not
order
where
to
you
get
want to
where I'm
be
at
at.
career wise,
Yeah.
pardon? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to get where I'm at, I need to be really proficient with programming languages
Hmm.
such as R, like data science programming languages. So like R, Python, proficient in Excel. And so the last few months, I've been really hitting it with these online courses, data camp. You bought me a course, Udemy,
Yeah, I
for I
did.
think,
Yeah.
what was that for?
It was
Was that Christmas?
yeah, I think it was for our Chris Kringle last year.
Chris Kringle, you bought me two courses. I did
Yeah.
one. I'm working on the other half.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I think that's a big career move on my end because I've always had these intentions the past like 2 years to be proficient. I just never really got it rolling.
Right.
And so I think that's a big goal that I've accomplished so far.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Second, personal, thank you. And second one I think would be personal self development. It would be, I would say it is, I think, either Toastmasters or just being a better runner. I think would be a
Mhm.
person. I don't know if I would include. What do you think? Should health be in
Yeah,
personal
of course,
health and
man. Because I
fitness?
was gonna say both of these things, from what you told me, played like a very integral part of your life this year.
Yeah. But I think personal development, it would be Toastmasters. I would rate it a bit higher than working out because with Toastmasters, I took more of an active role and I'm pretty proud of that.
Okay, if you don't mind, just kind of, what is Toastmasters?
Oh yeah, I forgot to. So Toastmasters is a not-for-profit public speaking organization all
Mm,
over the world. They have all these chapters and clubs, and essentially it's you meet up every week and you practice your public speaking skills
nice.
and you get feedback on that. So you learn to get better at public speaking and communicating and being a leader and all this. And that's what I do. We meet up. The club I'm in is called Bay Street Breakfast Toastmasters. We meet up every Wednesday
Oh, nice.
online now. Yeah. And so
Before it would be in person, I'd
in
assume.
person at
Yeah.
like some office building, but now it's online. And I'm super proud to be more active with that group because being a better speaker is something I've always wanted to be. And now that I'm making movements, I'm proud of that. I think what was the last one I had? The last one was you know what? I'll come back to that because I had to think about it.
Well, I mean, is this
So what are
something that,
your
sorry, is this something that anyone can join? Like, or
yeah.
how does it work? Like, how does membership in Toastmasters work exactly?
Oh, so honestly, you just go online, you look up for the nearest Toastmasters club in your area. You give them a shout out, be like, hey, can I come to one of your online sessions? And they'll send you the Zoom link. It's free to participate.
Hmm.
But if you want to join and be an active member, you have to pay a yearly fee of $150, which you get back in the form of there's online courses you could take
Oh,
that they
okay, cool.
provide. You also get monthly public speaking magazines, which I find pretty cool.
Hmm.
And so you get that back. So that's how you pretty much join. You log on to the Zoom meeting, and if you're interested, you'll reach out to them, be like, hey, can I join? You pay them $150 fee, and then you could start practicing your public speaking uh, things.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of worth it. You get actual feedback right then and there on how you're speaking, right?
Yeah, it's great. There's different rules. So the meeting is broken down into like sections where you have the introduction,
Mm.
you get like the tip of the week. So one person would, give would say a tip of the week, and then it goes into prepared speeches. So we have three people who come with prepared speeches and present.
Okay,
Then to
cool.
get their feedback from the coaches or whoever. And then there's a section called impromptu speaking. So this is where people could practice their impromptu speaking and work on becoming a better on a spot speaker.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's really interactive. It's fun. It's really low cost, and the returns, are great because you get so much resources and you get actual feedback. I think the feedback part is super important.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
That's Toastmasters. I love it. I look forward to it every Wednesday. Adds a nice routine to my schedule. But I think those are the main ones in terms of my goals.
And I think you kind of mentioned running a little bit.
Yeah, running is something I've always liked and enjoyed, but now I became more serious. I do want to compete down the road, just not compete in the sense of, doing a marathon or 10K.
Well,
And
actually,
so,
in terms of successes, I'm kind of gonna jump the gun here, but
yeah,
you've actually done a couple marathons this year.
yeah, informal, impromptu marathons, not an actual like, oh, we're getting together and doing a marathon at some sort of sponsored event. This was just me, like telling myself, hey, can I do a marathon in a month from now? And that's pretty much it. Um,
But that's
but
pretty insane, man. Like, bear in mind, a marathon is what, 46 kilometers?
42.2 kilometers.
42.2, 26.1 miles, if
Yeah,
I recall
yeah, it's
correctly.
really
Yeah.
intense. It's really long, and it's fun, I guess, to each their own.
Is it fun? Like, I mean,
It's
it's about 5 hours of work, basically,
yeah,
right?
it's I don't know. It depends. What's your definition of fun? Like, do you enjoy pain? Is that fun for you? I don't know, but it's there's something to it, and I can't really pinpoint what it is. You just have to be there. You have to be doing it to understand.
Is it the feeling of accomplishment?
That's one part.
Hmm.
I think it's multiple things, like accomplishment, knowing that I could do it
Right.
during the pain and all that. So I did a marathon. I've got into trail running, which is where you run on trails. Better for your knees, by the way, because you're not landing on pavements.
On concrete, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
on concrete. So I like that trail running. And Toronto has a lot of beautiful trails. We
Oh
have the
yeah.
Don River trails.
Oh yeah.
right? Toronto's so blessed with all this
Beautiful city.
natural environment,
Beautiful
right?
city.
Beautiful city. So I think that's pretty much it from my end in terms of accomplishments, goals. Anything on your end that you want to say that you've accomplished or lack thereof?
Well, I mean, yeah, in terms of successes, I'm kind of
Successes, yeah.
fortunate to say I've had quite a few, I think. So again, academically, I did, fairly well, just under what I wanted, which honestly, I'm still pretty happy with. Over the summer, I was really fortunate enough to be working with a professor on a research paper
Yeah,
that,
that's cool.
in all, if things are going well, it's going to be published, and I'm going to be speaking on it this April. Fingers crossed. But
Are
and
you allowed to speak about it or is it NDA?
no. So I was going to talk about, I'm actually doing another research project, which I can't speak about with another
Nice.
professor. But the
Nice.
first one over the summer, I'm fairly happy I'm fairly happy with how it's going. If things go well, then I think that's going to be something I'm really going to look forward to in 2021. But, academically, I did the things I wanted to. I really got to explore Toronto biking this summer. I finally got a bike after
Oh,
like
yeah.
18 years. I haven't biked in a really long time. And then I really kind of fell in love with it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah, because like I tried running in my knees and my
Yeah.
shins, and like I
Yeah.
wasn't ever able to get that runner's high. You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah. I totally feel. Do you get that with bike? I'm rarely on a bike. I think the last time I rode a bike was like 5 years ago.
Mhm.
So do you get that feeling on a bike? I
Honestly,
don't know.
it's like when I'm on a trail and I see the flora around me and the wind is in my face. It's like a feeling of
I
euphoria.
would assume that
Yeah.
I would assume it's the same thing. It's some chemical whatever reaction, right?
Whatever it
Running
was,
the
it felt amazing,
yeah.
and it made me want to do it. Like I was biking like maybe
Oh,
4 times a week.
dude, that's wicked.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I was seeing all these different trails in Toronto that I've never seen before. I
Where'd
biked
you
all.
where'd you where,
Oh yeah, so there was one time I biked to the beaches. I biked to
oh shit.
Sunnybrook Park. All these places in Toronto that I'm very fortunate to have a trail right next to my place.
Yeah.
So it all kind of connects,
Damn,
and
that's cool.
yeah, it was really fun. So like biking, academically speaking, I performed really well. Hopefully gonna get a research paper published. I can say that,
Yeah.
yeah. So those are kind of the things that I can point to as successes for this year. Doing well academically, hopefully getting that research paper published, working with another PI on another paper, and yeah, just really finding a love of cycling. I
Yeah,
think those
that's
are the wins for me this year.
I think that's important to keep your wins or your goals relatively short. Much easier to focus on that. Although I don't
Yeah.
think was cycling something you always wanted to get into?
No, it's so funny because I would see people riding around, and the main reason why I did it is because I wanted to save on TTC costs. The whole point was that at
That's
some
smart.
point I would bike to school and save like
Yeah,
$150 a month.
that's smart.
Yeah, and then in doing that, I realized like instead of just as a form of transportation from A to B, I actually really liked it.
Yeah. No, cycling, like there's so many benefits when you think about it.
Hmm.
Like, you can commute to school.
Yep,
You can't say that really about earning. You could also carry heavy stuff too, like
you can.
your backpacks,
Yeah.
right? That's a big, big plus. And you also save money, exercise. Cycling is something I do want to get into because you mentioned earlier, it's better for your knees.
Oh
Right?
man, so
Running can
much
take
better
a
for your
toll,
knees.
especially on
Yeah.
pavement, right? Like you can spend the whole day biking and wake up the next day with a good sore, like not like a joint or lower back pain or
A
knee pain
muscle
sore,
sore, not
but a
a
good
not a
like
ligament
a
sore.
muscle sore.
Yeah.
That's what you want, right? So biking is something I would really want to get into, I
Well, I mean,
guess,
how are your
summer.
joints holding up after all that running you've been doing this summer?
Joints are surprisingly good. My knees are okay.
Hmm.
Ankles, because I did like a marathon like 2 weeks ago. My ankles are feeling achy, and that kind of makes sense when you have been running so much this whole
Right.
year. But if I was biking, imagine if I did the same amount of effort biking, I would be so good right now.
Oh my God, yeah. And you
Right?
just you go fast. It feels nice.
Just go
Yeah,
fast.
you just go
Yeah. Like
fast.
go fast. You can go like theoretically, if you wanted to go, all the way to let's say Humber Bay or Kipling or not Kipling, that's whack, but
No,
like
even
Hyde
if you wanted
Park,
to. I know
you could
Kipling's
do that
whack.
biking. Yeah, right. But you can bike there, but like running there is not. It's not. You can't really just run there and enjoy your time. That's an actual workout.
Yeah, I feel like by the time you're done, you wouldn't be able to enjoy anything else.
Facts. So
Yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
Would you consider like what are those road bikes? Those expensive road bikes?
Oh, like the
Like
Bianchis or whatever. So I
yeah, like
actually
those like
actually have a road bike, but I got it on Kijiji for like 300 ish.
oh, what's its like retail price then? Because
Well, it's actually a vintage bike, so it's about like I think 20
oh,
to 25 years old. The thing is,
oh, I see, I see.
or maybe 30 actually. It was built in the 80s. It's a French brand,
Mm,
Piaget. But it was really taken care of very well. So everything is been monitored up to shape, been like taped up, been
that's good.
fixed, been tightened. So all that good stuff is pretty much set in. But yeah, if you buy like a used vintage road bike on Kijiji, you can get it for fairly cheap, and you don't have to spend like $10,000.
Yeah. Would you ever consider like a cycling? What are they called? Racing? Those like those thin like wheels, very thin frame but very sturdy. You know those? I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, and they're like made of carbon fiber. They're road
Yeah.
bikes. They're road bikes basically. But
Yeah. It's like a racing road bike.
yeah, I still
Would
don't
you?
feel that comfortable in my ability to do that, to like to really get one of those bikes. And also, I'm not made of cash, man. Like
Yeah, those are expensive,
this is an investment for
but they go
sure.
faster though.
Yeah, they do.
I see a lot of people use those type of bikes. Like when I'm running on the trail, like during the summer, biking was like the amount of cyclists was insane,
Yeah, you know how they
man.
have running clubs? They also have cycling clubs.
Yeah, it's crazy because early mornings I would see like these guys who look like they're doing the Tour de France
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
road,
Yep.
all bunched up, and they're
Hmm.
all in their like their speedos or whatever, and it's
Yeah,
like, yo, that's intense.
it is. It's
So
super
I'm like,
intense.
oh, yeah. Oh, also though, off topic, I guess kind of, but one of my other my goals, I guess we'll talk about it when it comes to our goals for 2021. But
A little sneak
any
peek.
other sneak peek? I guess a sneak peek to that would be your talk about bike clubs. I wonder what other clubs I could set up in the future. But yeah, we'll get to that. Anything you want to finish off with in terms of your, I guess, successes? You
I mean,
said biking and academics. Anything else?
biking,
Like a small little
academics.
thing?
Um, no, well, that's why it's a 5 out of 10, man. Like it's
Oh shit.
yeah, that's why it's a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
It's I think it was a tough year, but the things that I was able to do, I'm pretty happy with. Obviously, there are a lot of things that I wanted to that I couldn't, like French fluency, didn't really get on that.
Yeah.
Um, Travel obviously was a sore
Oh
point for me
yeah.
because I just like being outside the country. I like going to places, seeing
I
new
could tell.
cultures, eating different foods. But obviously, that's like the major thing that we can't do with what's going on. But besides that, I'm gonna be grateful in the things that I was able to accomplish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the main one, right? Your GPA, I think, because that's more directly related to your goal. As long as you hit that,
yeah,
I'd be pretty happy.
yeah,
Like if I'm in your boat, like maintaining a near 4.0, I would be super happy with that, considering
yeah.
what
And
happened.
if I'm being honest, this is like the rest of it is just me complaining. The
Yeah, I
one
guess
really important thing I wanted to do, I kind of did.
you
So
achieved it, and that's
yeah,
the most important.
hmm,
4 point, like a near 4 or 4.0, which is
yeah,
insane.
hmm.
And yeah, man, heck, hats off, yeah, hats off
Thanks.
to you.
Thanks, man. A lot of work. But we kind of talked about our successes, our pitfalls. What did you learn? What did you learn from 2020? Because it was a learning experience for everyone, I think. And I think for a lot of people, many different lessons were everyone kind of learned something different. But what did you learn specifically?
I think I touched based on it like earlier, but
Hmm.
the biggest one would be being more patient and focused. So I had mentioned earlier that I really wanted to work at a university teaching on a
Hmm.
part-time basis, work in a corporate setting. No, I really want to work as a job working with economic data or as an economic analyst or economist,
Right.
something in that realm. And usually when I set those type of goals, I want it this year.
Yeah.
But what I realize is that, just be patient with it. Don't rush to those goals. So it's going to kind of relate to my 2021 goals.
Hmm.
I still want to be an economist or be conversationally fluent, but I'm going to not rush to it. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned is to be more patient and take time with, what you're doing. And be more focused and deliberate with your actions.
Hmm.
I think that's the biggest one. And I mentioned earlier because pre-COVID, everything was so hectic, especially in Toronto.
Yeah.
And we realize, now that I have the time, make use of it and make good use, not just use it, but make good use of your time.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, I think that's the biggest one. I think the second one is really setting your goals, preparing, and then executing on those goals. I think what I mean by that is, if I want to become an economist, I need to actually prepare, and so I need to create a plan.
Hmm.
Planning being, create those short-term actionable goals.
Right.
You know, networking, redefine or redoing your resume. Preparation is huge, and then actually executing. And execution won't take just 1 year; it might take a couple years. So I just have to be patient. So I think
Actually,
that's the biggest
sorry to cut you
lesson.
off, but you actually said something quite interesting. You said networking. How have you found networking in COVID times?
Though that's insane because you can't in-person network, or it's
Yes.
not recommended,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
So
like what has that changed your approach? Like are you more on LinkedIn or like what are you doing exactly to kind of like broaden that sphere?
I'll give you an example. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. So with Body Improvement Club, I have things I want to work on for next year. One of those things is having different instructors lead the club.
Hmm.
And so I reached out to this guy from the United States. He's a US Navy, whatever.
Okay.
He's in the Army or
Sounds
something.
intense.
And yeah, right. I reached out to him and I'm like, hey, if you want to come to all the way to Toronto, he lives in New York City, and lead one of our camps, we'll compensate you. Would you be interested? And he's like, yes. So, just reaching out to people on LinkedIn or Instagram, I've reached out to a couple, I guess one or two, no, I reached out to two influencers
Hmm.
regarding, promoting our club or
Right.
leading our club. And one of them agreed to lead our club for 2021
Wow, that's
for 2
great.
sessions. Yeah. And one of them did not reply, but 50%
It's a
response
numbers
rate.
game. Yeah,
So
for sure.
that it's not, that's one avenue, is using social media to network.
Hmm.
And then there's Toastmasters. So just meeting new people through Toastmasters,
Hmm.
having a conversation with them via email, or just setting up a small little Zoom meeting just to get to know them. Those are a few ways to network, although not as great as in-person networking.
Right, for sure.
So that's what I've been doing.
Hmm.
Still hard though. Still
Oh
hard.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's my main takeaways. Be patient and focused. And when you set goals, prepare and execute. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. No, those are great. Yeah, I feel like those are, you know, I'm sure a lot of people learn those lessons eventually, but I think coming to those realizations during a pandemic is a lot faster because you're kind of
Yeah,
forced to,
for
right?
sure.
You're kind of forced to. And I
Mhm.
guess it's kind of the same with me. You kept bringing up, being present in the moment, being patient, being, really understanding what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things I kind of picked up as well this year.
Nice.
Um, just really being like, I had to really understand that, you know, the world still goes on whether you are able to succeed or not, right?
That's true.
So there are a lot of things I wanted to do this year, and I couldn't do them. But at the same time, like you're saying, life goes on, right? Life goes on. There's still next year. There's still the year after. Nothing is right now. Like
That's
all the
true.
things you want to do, you can still do them. It's going to take a bit longer, but that's fine, right? As long as you put in the work, you put in the effort, and you put in the necessary steps to get there, you will get there. And I think that's something that was really reinforced with me. Like during my 2 month malaise after coming out of that, I was like, what did I do with my time? And then I realized, you know what, I can still do a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
I
And you
think
don't have to rush to it.
yeah, exactly. So I think being patient, being present, doing what it is you're doing with intent and understanding why you're doing it are some of the major things that got reinforced to me this year.
I like what you said, knowing why you're doing it. And
Yeah.
I think that's something I'm trying to implement more frequently. So when I'm marking, or if I'm creating lesson plans, or if
Mhm.
I'm applying for a job, like, why am I doing this? Right. And yeah, just being more focused and present, which I think is super important nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is too, like, another thing I really kind of picked up this year is once I kind of finished my school, I or my winter semester rather, I realized like I had a chunk of time before my MCAT studying. I'm like, what am I going to do with myself? What do I really like? So I decided to kind of try a lot of different things, right? I wanted to,
Ooh,
yeah, I wanted to express myself in means that I hadn't before. So I sought to go for more creative outlets to see what would really spark my interest. And I think without the pandemic, I probably would not have done that. I would have still been in the same,
mm,
go 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 Toronto pace that we were at before.
yeah,
But because we were forced to shut down, I think I was also forced to kind of figure out a little bit more about myself. Like, what do I like outside of school? What do I want to do outside of school? What makes me happy? What brings me joy? What brings me fulfillment? You know?
yeah. So what were those things that you've tried out? What things did you take away from that, or
Yeah. So
learned
like
or
in
experienced?
more like creative outlets, I tried a lot of reading. I tried my hand at a lot of creative writing.
Ooh, that's cool.
I tried to do things that I kind of dabbled in before, but never really, went too far. And like I started drawing a little bit again. I started writing poetry a little bit again. And we had this idea to form like a podcast where we can kind of talk about our productive habits, right? And I think that's something that without this year, I don't know if we would have done it.
A one on, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right? Like
And
we talked about it for a while, but I think the catalyst of being forced to stay inside kind of made us realize that, you know what, I think now is a good time as ever to really get the ball rolling on this.
and that's why this whole COVID thing is a blessing in disguise, because without it, we wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah,
Without
exactly.
it, I wouldn't have whole body improvement club thing wouldn't really have taken off
Exactly.
to that extent. And it is somewhat a blessing in disguise. So that's pretty cool that you were to. I think that's so important, just to try new things, to
Hmm.
because you wouldn't know what you like and what you don't like without trying things. So when we go about our careers, our future careers, we kind of base it on these assumptions that we like it. Like, for me, I want to be an economist, but do I really know what it's like? Do I
Yeah.
know what they do on a day-to-day basis? No, I just assume things based off the job description on school.
Hmm.
And so, uh, while I'm pursuing that, I need to try other things, because, what if I don't like that job? Then by trying other things, um, I know how that feels like, or I know what that type of career might be like. For example, uh, what's in the one thing being an entrepreneur, right? And that's something I'm trying to endeavor and like go into
Yeah.
and trying to feel it out, experience.
Hmm.
So if being an economist doesn't work, well, I already know what being an entrepreneur kind of feels like. So let me
Yeah.
venture into that. So that's what I
Oh, I think it's cutting
get at
off.
it.
I'm sorry, man. I think it's cutting off a bit.
Yeah. Hold up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now. It was like a solid, I think like 20
Really
seconds.
shaky.
Yeah, where it just kind of froze up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty. I don't know where to end off, but yeah, we can edit that part out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, like you're saying, I feel like, it's a really good way to look at it as a appreciative, a way to appreciate what you have like this year.
Yeah.
Um, and from the lens you're looking at it, like we got the ability to kind of try different things, which I feel like we normally don't get. So yeah, that's another big win, I think, and something that I learned as well. And it sounds like you too, that being forced to kind of shut down kind of forces you to look within and kind of figure out what you want and what you like.
Yeah. I think that was a big one. Just more self reflection. And it kind of makes sense. Most people have more time on their hands. And I think we took it in a good direction. We're trying new things, and all these other things on the side.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so 2020 is almost done. We are recording this at December 31st. Today's
Mm.
the official last day of 2020. For many, it's a welcome sign. For us, it's I could do without 2020, but I'm kind of happy with what I learned from it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty happy, pretty grateful and satisfied with what came out of it.
Hmm.
But next year, 2021, I think we just have to work on things we didn't work on this year and further improve our methods. Uh, Methods we'll talk about in the next few podcasts, such as time management, and all that, but that's a
Yeah.
different discussion.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of 2021, man, you just brought it up. What do you have planned? What are the goals for 2021, Jamie?
wow. So, very ambitious. Just to take it back, I take things more slowly. So, I really want to work in a corporate setting, back into the corporate setting,
Hmm.
either as an economist or working with economic data or something like that. I would say, make progress towards that. Have, several interviews lined up. Not necessarily get the job, but make some progress towards it. So again, get interviews, work on my resume, and I think that's one of the bigger ones.
Hmm.
Uh,
Do you have any specific places in mind you want to apply to? Something like specific
I
so that
really want to.
me and the listeners can keep you accountable.
Oh yeah, the Bank of Canada or working for the government, but
Hmm.
more specific, yes, the Bank of Canada or
Okay.
Statistics Canada I would really like to work for because you work with economic data and that's what I'm kind of well versed in.
Hmm.
So hopefully, by the end of this year, I'm doing that. But if not, I'm not going to be worried too much because it's all about being patient and knowing eventually where you're going to be. So that is one goal. I think my other goal is the biggest one is to have business, some sort of business. And I think I'm going to build off the Body Improvement Club.
Hmm.
So what I'm envisioning is, you know, I want to quantify it more. So not just starting a business, but having sales every month, whether it be t-shirt sales,
Oh, you
whether
want to
it be
monetize? Okay.
selling, yeah, monetize it. But yeah, there's a few things I want to work on.
Hmm.
But one thing I want to mention is when you set goals, you want to quantify it. So when I'm setting this goal of starting a business, I want to quantify it. So I want to have at least one monthly sale by summer
That's a
or
great goal.
summer, starting summer, I want at
Yeah,
least one monthly sale. So I think that's one goal.
that's a great
And
goal.
then, right. Yeah. So another one is I want two full scale like programming projects.
Hmm.
So two full scale by the end of the year. I want two full scale projects where I could show potential employers, hey, look what I did and how this can apply to your company.
Right.
So that's something I want to work on. Main goals for 2021 and be better with French. I think I really want to work on too.
What
And I'm pretty
specifically though?
sure,
What
that's one
specifically
of your
though?
goals
Yeah, it
too,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Be more, yeah. Anything, any goals in mind for yourself for 2021?
Well, yeah. Again, like a big push of continuation for 2020 into 2021 would be, keeping my GPA where it's at,
Mm,
aiming for that 4.0. I was just a bit under this year, but next year, I'm definitely gonna try and make that a priority for me. Um, so yeah, actionable, quantifiable 4.0. That's what I want to do. In terms of learning French, I want to be conversational in that, if you drop me in, I don't know, Montreal or Laval or something like that, I'll be able to have a conversation and get my way back home.
oh, that's fire.
That's what I want, right? Like there's a very specific instance um, in that is what I want to achieve before the end of the year. And I know it's hard with language because like, people, you can say, I want to be fluent, but what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
Right. This is why I have a specific instance of how fluent I want to be. Like if I were kidnapped and sent all the way across to, I don't know, Lyon or Paris or something like that, I want to be able to get my way back home.
Yeah. Could you try that now?
Oh, definitely
Like say
not.
you, okay.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
If
right.
you kidnap me and threw me in Paris, I definitely would not be able to. I'd be speaking English,
Yeah,
100%.
100% English,
100%.
all English. It's so funny. But yeah, I guess that's my thing too, is just to be able to converse on a basic level. And
Hmm.
as mentioned, if I'm dropped off somewhere randomly in a French country or somewhere in France,
Hmm.
can I get home? then I think that's a good way to measure your progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we just keep building on it, and suddenly it's a second language, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And it's great because Canada obviously is bilingual. And for myself, anyways, I do want to work in Ottawa and work for the government. So
it's a
learning
big
French
thing. Yeah, you got to be
would be great.
bilingual. Yeah.
Is learning French more of just like a fun thing to do, or is there an actual reason why you want to learn French other than just learning it
Well, I
because?
mean, like, number one, it's I feel like I kind of wasted a lot of
Mm,
my early education by not taking it seriously because we are a bilingual country, right? A very large
yeah,
subsection of Canada speaks French, and I want to be able to, I want to be able to do that. Two, it never hurts learning another language. I feel like it's beneficial regardless. I think
yeah,
more information is always great. Learning is always great. And three, it opens avenues to other potential med schools that I can apply to, which I
oh,
think is
that's
like,
true.
yeah. So there's at least three different reasons why it makes sense for me to do it. And also I just like the language. It just sounds nice,
Yeah,
Chocolat en pas.
yeah.
How can you not like that?
Pain au
Right?
chocolat.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned it's going to help with med school, but aren't you applying to med school this year? So you would need to be conversational by this year too, right?
Well,
Or
exactly.
next
That's
2021.
there you go. There's a deadline, there's a quantifiable goal. That's what we do here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
That's
what we do
right.
here.
If you're going to make goals, quantify it. Huge, huge thing. I think we'll talk about that in another podcast, how to set goals. Do we have that lined up, by the way?
Yeah, for sure. We have a whole bunch of things coming. We have
Nice. I'm looking
time
for it.
management, focus, setting up goals, and then we have a
Ooh.
couple of special interest podcasts with some friends of ours who are going to talk about very exciting things.
Oh, I'm excited for those. I love talking about that. This is our stuff, guys.
Yeah,
This is our life, man. Just being productive, being achieving your goals. I guess just being the best version you can be. What is
yeah,
speaking one thing? What is your goal? Did we mention our goal? Or we did mention our goals in the first podcast. Our main goal.
yeah. We did in our introduction. But
Okay.
also kind of off track here, but I do want to do. I want to sometime this year. I want to bike 100K in one setting.
Yo, that's literally like here to St. Catharines, I think. Right? Yeah.
I mean,
Because here
I
to
wouldn't
Niagara
bike
is like,
there, but
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, how cool would that be though? If, as a vacation idea, we take our bikes, if I get a bike,
You
and we
mean
just,
when you get a bike?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. When
When
I
you get
get
a
a
bike.
bike,
Yeah.
good way of saying it, when I get a bike, we plan a vacation where we bike to that location. I don't know where.
And then
Like
bike back the
bike to
next day.
no, no, bike to Montreal. What do you think?
I think that's more than
500.
100K.
Oh, wow.
I think that's more than 100K. Yeah.
That's like 500K. Could
Yeah.
you do that? Could we do that? No, that's too much. That's not really a vacation though.
No, it's work.
Yeah, it's
work. Like, come
that's
on.
a training
Yeah,
regimen. That's
exactly. Yeah,
a
it's
training
work, man.
regimen.
Yeah.
All right. Holy. That's a cool goal. 100 kilometers. That's a lot though, man.
Yeah, 100K. I think at the pace I was going at this summer, I felt like I was really developing in meaningful ways, and if I keep that going, I feel like 100K is really really attainable.
What was the most distance you've ever biked?
So here's the thing. I use this app called Strava, right? And you actually got me on
Okay.
this. And for our listeners who don't know, it's kind of like Nike Running Club, but it can track your movement and your speed and your destination for many different activities. So it can track your running distance, your cycling distance, your swimming distance. And I use it mainly for swimming and biking, but I have this really bad habit of using Strava where I always forget to turn it on until like midway through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
So
like ballpark, I think the most I've done is like maybe 30 to 35K on a
that's
bike.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Where did you bike around? I know obviously your area, then you went to the beach.
I
Where'd
went
you
to the
bike?
beaches and then back, and then I went all the way to there's the Don Valley Trail goes to I forgot what street it is. I think it's like Bayview.
Yeah, I
But
think
it's
so.
like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
really long-winded way to get to Bayview and then back
Yeah.
and then around Edwards Gardens and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think
really nice bike ride. If you go at your own pace, it's really enjoyable. You don't have to go super fast. But when I did, I think it was like maybe 30, 35K is probably my max. so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds really fun. Also, if you're I don't know if your bike can do this, but there's a lot of I wouldn't say I guess BMX trails, but there's a lot of
Oh,
biking
definitely,
trails where
definitely
you go up
not.
these like steep
Yeah.
slopes and downs. It's so cool because I've seen like it's actually Toronto's kind of known for that, where we have all these trails for BMX bikers. So when I'm
Hmm.
running through these trails, I see like these BMX bikers. I'm like, holy crap, they go so fast.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen a couple of those on my rides, and my bike is definitely not equipped for that. I think
Yeah,
I might die. Yeah, straight up, I might die
yeah.
if I did that.
I think if I'm biking, I kind of just want to pedal and just relax. It's like almost relaxing too,
It
right?
is relaxing. It's a form of like catharsis. You know,
Yeah.
you don't even think, you're just biking and you just go.
Are you do you sweat because of so I'm when I'm thinking leisure, I don't really sweat much. So were you sweating a lot other than the heat, or were you sweating from like
No, I was sweating. I was going at a decent clip, not too fast, like maybe 20 to 25 kilometers per hour, which is,
that's fast though?
yeah, but it's on
Like
a
compared to
bike.
running, that's
It's
pretty
on a
fast.
bike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's not crazy super fast. I'm not sprinting by any means.
Yeah.
It's a good speed to go from A to B at a reasonable time frame.
You know what's cool though? Off I guess kind of on topic with biking, but off topic in general. But have you heard of Active TO?
No, what's that?
So Active TO is a recent program that Toronto implemented because of the pandemic to get people to run and bike more. So they would close off like a main road.
Hmm.
So for this summer, they closed off many roads. The biggest one would be
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Lakeshore Road.
Hmm.
Yeah. So then you could, ride your bike along Lakeshore. It's like 5-10 kilometers long.
Hmm.
And so it was really nice. And, something I would want to do next year if Toronto does implement another Active TO.
Hmm.
So biking, let's do it next year. Well, I'm
Yeah,
gonna do it
definitely.
next year. Hopefully next year.
We'll make that like, we can set something up
Yo,
as
let's do a
a
podcast during biking.
whoa, that's insane. That's insane, bud.
I think we could do it.
Think we can?
How do you do that?
Well,
Yeah, we set up cameras
first
in
you need a
front.
bike.
Yeah, it's true. I'll get that. But then we need to mount our cameras on well, how? I actually don't know.
We'll figure it out. The
We
details
could
come
do it,
later,
bro.
but yeah, the idea is solid.
We'll have a third biker. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have like Donna, right? She'll ride with us with a
Yeah,
camera.
and just recording the entire time with the mics. Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good. Two blue Yetis just hanging above us.
All right,
But
man.
yeah.
So we talked about our 2020, our going into 2021. What are your book recommendations for the week? What do you have for us?
Do you want to go first? Because I just have to retrieve my book
Yeah,
somewhere in the back.
absolutely. So the book I have for this week, it's actually it's a nonfiction book. It's kind of like an autobiography, but it's called When Breath Becomes Air, and it's basically not to give too much away, but it's basically the story of a real life doctor who's going through a terminal illness in a field that he's basically a doctor of, and it kind of goes through this entire story. It's a short read, very engaging, but also very heartfelt, right? And I feel like it's one of those things that, when you read it, you begin to empathize, and I think especially right now, that's something that a lot of people could tend to do more of, just have more empathy. And I think this book is something that really brings that out. And so it's called When Breath Becomes Air, and it's
When Breath.
by Dr. Paul
Oh,
Kalanithi. Yeah,
that's cool. It's written by, so it's a fiction book
nonfiction
by a
book.
doctor. Nonfiction by, oh, wait. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's basically
So
an
what's it called again?
autobiography. So it's called When Breath Becomes Air.
When Breath Becomes Air.
Yeah,
Damn.
check it out, guys. It's lovely.
I'll look into that. Add it to my book collection, my ever growing book collection.
Yeah,
I
it's
think the
looking
book
pretty
I
great.
have, yeah, it's not bad. One thing I'm going to add to that, my book recommendation is Living with the Seal by Jesse Itzler. Jesse Itzler is a entrepreneur, a really big entrepreneur. I don't know if you heard him. He owns like some football team, or part owns some football team.
Oh,
But
it's pretty big.
anyways, the basic idea behind, the basic idea is he invites this U.S. Navy SEAL over to his house to live with him for 31 days or 30
Mhm.
days, and the U.S. Navy SEAL essentially trains him. Well, not he trains him. Jesse has to train with the Navy SEAL. And so this Navy SEAL, his name is David Goggins, if you haven't heard of him, or if
That I
have,
have heard of. Very
he's
intense guy.
very intense. Especially for the average person, it's something not you shouldn't, his methodology and his mindset, you shouldn't really adopt, but he's super crazy with his
Mm-hmm.
workouts. He runs every day. He stretches like hours a day, pretty much working out his life. And it's hilarious read. It goes through the insane workouts that he has to do with him. Some of it's comedic because like, why would you do this to yourself? There was one point where he just the Navy SEAL David Goggins ran, I think, this 100-mile race,
100
right?
miles.
100-mile race,
So
and he,
4 marathons,
yes,
basically.
yeah, pretty much. It was insane. So the Navy SEAL tells, or David tells Jesse, "Oh, I'm going to leave for a couple of days. I'll be back in a couple of days." Comes back, tells him that he does a 100-mile race, Jesse, and apparently breaks all of his metatarsals in his feet.
Oh my God.
You know, yeah, like all the or whatever
Yeah,
things in his
yeah,
feet, metatarsals,
yeah.
whatever that it's called, breaks it, and then he's like, "All right, pretty good. Let's work out tomorrow."
Pretty good. Let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Jesse tells David, "Aren't you going to go to the doctor?" He's like, "No. Why would I go to the doctor when I know what's wrong with my feet?" So that's his mentality.
Okay.
Really
All
fun
right.
read, and there's my book recommendation for this podcast.
All right. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in today. This has been the Productive Habits Podcast. As always, we are Dennis and